If you were her, would you have trusted him or seen the plans sooner?
Open it, she's inside, I screamed, choking as smoke poured down the hallway. My name's Elena. I was standing outside my 7-year-old daughter Sophia's bedroom, the air turning black, her coughing getting weaker behind the door. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. I told my husband the house was filling with smoke. He didn't run, didn't panic. He grabbed my wrist, looked straight at me, and turned the key, locking her in. Daniel, what are you doing? I tried to shove past him, but he held firm, calm too calm, while Sophia cried out, Mom! Then he raised his phone and hit record. And that's when I realized this wasn't an accident. Open it, she's inside, I screamed, choking as smoke poured down the hallway. My name's Elena. I was standing outside my 7-year-old daughter Sophia's bedroom, the air turning black, her coughing getting weaker behind the door. I told my husband the house was filling with smoke. He didn't run, didn't panic. He grabbed my wrist, looked straight at me, and turned the key, locking her in. Daniel, what are you doing? I tried to shove past him, but he held firm, calm too calm, while Sophia cried out, Mom! Then he raised his phone and hit record. And that's when I realized this wasn't an accident. The smell wasn't just smoke anymore. It was thick, chemical, almost sweet. It burned the back of my throat as I coughed, trying to twist free from his grip. The hallway lights flickered above us, dimming behind a gray haze that was sinking lower by the second. Daniel, she can't breathe! I shouted, my voice cracking. I could hear Sophia inside, small, panicked coughs turning into desperate gasps. She has asthma, you know, that opened the door? He didn't even look at the door. His eyes stayed on me. Focused, measuring, like he was waiting for something. I said, I'll handle it, he replied, his voice steady in a way that made my stomach drop. Not rushed, not afraid, controlled. Behind the door, Sophia started hitting something. Maybe the wood, maybe the floor. Mom, it hurts! I lunged again, slamming my shoulder into him, but he barely moved. He was stronger than me, always had been, but this wasn't just strength, it was intention. He shifted his stance just enough to block me completely, his body between me and the handle like a wall. Move! I screamed, clawing at his arm. He tightened his grip just slightly, enough to stop me. Not yet, he said under his breath. Not yet. The words didn't make sense. I looked past him, really looked this time. The smoke wasn't just drifting from one direction, it was everywhere, thickest near the ceiling, curling downward, swallowing the hallway inch by inch. The air felt hotter now, pressing against my skin. And then something else hit me. The fire alarm. It wasn't going off. Why isn't the alarm? I started, my voice shaking, but I couldn't finish the sentence. My brain was trying to catch up, trying to connect things that didn't belong together. Daniel's phone was still raised, angled slightly toward his face now. His thumb hovered near the screen, adjusting something. Recording. Why are you filming this? I demanded. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he glanced toward Sophia's door, just a quick flick of his eyes, and then back to me, like he was checking timing. Timing. Daniel, I said, quieter now, the fear settling into something colder, sharper. Open the door. Inside, Sophia's coughing turned into a wheeze, a sound I knew too well. Nights in emergency rooms flashed through my head, inhalers, oxygen masks, her small body struggling for air. She couldn't last long like this. You're scaring her, I said, my voice trembling despite myself. This isn't funny. If you're trying to prove something, whatever this is, just stop. His jaw tightened slightly at that. Prove something? He repeated, almost to himself. Another thud from inside the room, softer this time. Mom! Sophia's voice came out faint, barely audible through the door. Something inside me snapped. I twisted violently, managing to slip my wrist free for half a second. My hand shot toward the handle, but he caught me again, harder this time, pulling me back. Stop, he barked. It was the first time his voice cracked through that calm. But it wasn't panic. It was irritation, like I was interrupting something important. Are you out of your mind? I shouted, my chest heaving. She's going to pass out in there. He exhaled slowly, like he was forcing himself to stay composed. I know exactly what I'm doing, he said. The words landed heavier than anything else. Not confusion, not a mistake. Deliberate. I stared at him, my heartbeat pounding so hard it felt like it was shaking my vision. The man in front of me didn't look like the person I'd been married to for 10 years. Not in that moment. There was no hesitation in him. No doubt. Just calculation. Another second passed. Then another. Inside the room, nothing. No coughing. No banging. No voice. The silence hit harder than the noise ever did. Sophia? I called, my voice suddenly small, fragile. Baby? No answer. I looked back at Daniel, my throat tightening. Why did she stop? I whispered. For the first time, something flickered across his face. Not guilt. Not fear. Something else. Uncertainty. And that was worse. Daniel, I said, my voice rising again, sharper now. Why did she stop? He hesitated. Just for a second. And in that second, the smoke thickened enough that I could barely see the door anymore. His grip loosened just slightly. His eyes shifted, not to me this time, but to the door. And that's when I knew something had gone wrong. She wasn't making a sound. The silence behind Sophia's door pressed in harder than the smoke. Daniel, my voice came out strained, barely holding together. Unlock it, now. For a moment, he didn't move. His eyes stayed fixed on the door like he was calculating something, like he was waiting for a signal that hadn't come. 3 hours earlier, everything had felt off. Not wrong enough to panic, just enough to sit in the back of my mind. Daniel had been home all day, which wasn't unusual lately, but he hadn't really been there. Sitting at the kitchen table, staring at his phone, tapping, deleting, tapping again. Every time I walked in, he'd angle the screen away just slightly. Work? I'd asked, trying to keep it light. Something like that, he'd said without looking up. That was Daniel lately, answers that weren't answers. I remember opening the cabinet near the stove, reaching for the spare batteries. Empty. Did you use the last of these? I asked. Yeah, he said quickly. Smoke alarm was chirping. I paused. So you replaced them? A beat too long. I will. But he didn't. Now, standing in that smoke-filled hallway, the silence of the alarm screamed louder than anything else. Daniel! I snapped, dragging myself back to the present. She's not answering! He finally looked at me, and there it was again. That controlled expression, like he was trying to keep everything exactly on track. She's fine, he said. Fine? I stared at him. You don't even know that. I do. How? My voice broke. You haven't even opened the door! Another memory surfaced, sharp, sudden. Last week. Sophia tugging on my sleeve. Mom, why does Daddy lock my door at night? I'd laughed it off at first, thinking she was exaggerating. He doesn't lock it, sweetheart. He does, she insisted. I tried to come out and it wouldn't open. I'd confronted him later. It's for safety, Daniel said. You know how she sleepwalks. She hasn't sleepwalked in a year. Still, better safe than sorry. At the time, it had sounded reasonable enough to drop. But now I knew exactly how that lock worked. Only from the outside. You changed the lock, I said slowly, the realization settling like ice in my chest. You made it so she couldn't get out. He didn't respond, which was an answer. Behind him, the smoke thickened, rolling lower, swallowing the edges of the walls. The heat was building too subtle, but rising. This isn't just about the fire, is it? I said, my voice quieter now, more dangerous. You planned this. His jaw flexed. Still no denial. My pulse spiked. Say something! I told you, he said, his tone tightening slightly. I'll handle it. Another second of silence from the room. No coughing. No movement. My stomach dropped. You said she was fine, I whispered. Then why can't we hear her? That finally shook something loose. His eyes flicked to the door again, quicker this time. Less controlled. I stepped closer, forcing him to either move or push me back. If you're so sure, prove it. Open the door. He didn't move. Didn't speak. Just stood there, blocking me. And that's when the last piece clicked into place. Not fully, not yet, but enough to make my skin crawl. This wasn't panic. This wasn't a mistake. This was timing. You're waiting, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. His expression changed just for a second. I saw it, and I knew I was right. Waiting for what? I demanded. Before he could answer, a faint, weak thud came from inside the room. Not a bang. Not a cry. Something falling. My heart stopped. Sophia! I screamed. No response. I turned back to Daniel, panic ripping through me. That wasn't her knocking, that was her collapsing. For the first time, real tension cracked through his composure. His grip tightened, then loosened. Then he reached toward the key. But instead of unlocking it, he adjusted his phone and stepped back half a pace, angling the camera toward the door. Daniel, I said, my voice dropping into something raw and unrecognizable, what are you doing? He took a slow breath and said, just a few more seconds, just a few more seconds. The words didn't register at first, like my brain rejected them before they could fully land. A few seconds for what? I snapped, my voice breaking as I stepped into him again. She's not breathing in there. Daniel didn't flinch this time. If anything, he seemed steadier. This is the only way it works, he said. Works. The hallway pulsed with heat now, the smoke dropping lower, turning the air into something you had to fight just to pull into your lungs. My eyes burned, tears streaming down my face, not just from fear anymore, but from the sting of it. You're talking like this is a plan, I said, coughing. What plan, Daniel? He finally looked at me directly. Insurance doesn't pay out for close calls, he said. For a second, everything around me went quiet. Not literally the crackle somewhere deeper in the house, the faint hum of something burning, but inside my head, it all stopped. What? I whispered. He gestured vaguely behind us, toward the rest of the house. It has to look real. Structural damage, smoke damage, loss. You locked your daughter in a burning house for insurance? My voice rose sharp and disbelieving. Are you hearing yourself right now? She's not going to die, he shot back, irritation breaking through again. I know how fast it spreads. I calculated it. Calculated. I shook my head, stepping back like the word itself might burn me. She has asthma. She can't even handle a cold without... I said I know, he snapped. And then, just as quickly, he pulled himself back together. His shoulders lowered, his breathing slowed. Too controlled. I just need it to look real, he said again, quieter now. Smoke inhalation, panic. Then I go in, get her out. He lifted the phone slightly. It has to be documented. My stomach twisted. You're staging a rescue, I said. He didn't deny it. Behind the door, nothing. No cough. No voice. The absence of sound was louder than anything else. You said she wouldn't die, I said, my voice trembling. So why isn't she making any noise? He hesitated. Just enough. I lunged again, shoving him with everything I had. This time, he stumbled half a step back, not much, but enough for me to grab the handle. I twisted. Locked. Give me the key! I screamed, turning on him. He raised his free hand, not aggressive, just blocking. Elena, stop. You're going to ruin this. Ruin this. I stared at him, something inside me shifting from panic into something colder, sharper. She's not a plan, I said. She's your daughter. She's the reason we don't lose everything, he fired back. Everything. The word hung there, heavy. And suddenly, pieces started sliding into place. The late notices on the counter, he said, were mistakes. The calls he'd been taking in the garage, the way he'd stopped talking about money altogether. How bad is it? I asked, my voice low. He didn't answer. How bad is it, Daniel? Bad enough, he muttered, glancing at the door again, that this fixes it. Another second passed. Then, a faint broken sound from inside. Not a word. Not even a cough. Just a weak scrape. I froze. So, she's still conscious, Daniel said quickly, almost to himself. That's good. Good. Open the door! I screamed, grabbing at him again. She's fading, can't you hear that? I need a little more, he insisted, his grip tightening on my arm again. Just enough to sell it. To who? I shouted. An insurance company? Or the police when they realize you did this? That hit something. His expression flickered just for a moment. But it wasn't fear of the police. It was something else. Something colder. You're overreacting, he said. Overreacting. In a burning house. With our daughter locked inside. I stared at him, disbelief turning into something almost surreal. You actually think this is going to make you look like a hero? He didn't answer. But his silence said enough. Behind the door, the scrape stopped. Completely. No movement. No sound. No anything. My chest tightened so violently I couldn't breathe. Daniel, I whispered, the fight draining out of my voice, replaced by something hollow. She stopped again. He looked at the door. Really looked this time. And for the first time, he didn't say she was fine. That's not supposed to happen, he muttered. My head snapped toward him. What did you just say? The heat surged again, stronger now, licking closer down the hallway. I grabbed his shirt, pulling him toward the door. Unlock it. Now. Now. This time, he didn't pull away. He hesitated, hand hovering near the key, eyes flicking between the lock, and the camera still recording in his other hand. And then he whispered, "It spread faster than it should have. It spread faster than it should have." The words barely left his mouth before I ripped the key from his hand. I didn't even remember reaching for it 1 second. It was between his fingers. The next, it was digging into my palm as I jammed it into the lock. My hands were shaking so badly I missed the slot twice. "Move!" I choked, coughing as the smoke dropped lower, thick and suffocating. The hallway was almost gone now, just shadows and heat and the outline of the door in front of me. Daniel didn't stop me this time. He just stood there, watching. The key finally slid in. I twisted, but the handle wouldn't budge. No, 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 I yanked it again, harder this time. It's stuck. It shouldn't be, Daniel said quickly, stepping forward now, his calm finally cracking. You what? I shouted, slamming my shoulder into the door. The wood groaned, but didn't give. A sharp, bitter smell cut through the smoke stronger now. Not just burning wood. Something chemical. I froze for half a second, my brain catching up. That's not normal, I said, coughing. What did you use? Daniel didn't answer. He grabbed the handle, twisting it hard. His movements no longer controlled, jerky, urgent. It's jammed, he said. Why is it jammed? I don't know, but I did. Or at least pieces of it. The removed alarm batteries. The locked door. His phone recording. And now the smell. You started this, I said, staring at him through the haze. You didn't just let it happen, you started it. He shook his head, but it wasn't a denial, it was frustration. It was supposed to stay in the hallway, just enough to what? Fill the house? I cut in. Trap her inside while you filmed yourself playing hero? I was going to open it, he snapped. I just needed the right moment. The right moment. I slammed into the door again, pain shooting through my shoulder. There is no moment if she's dead. That word hit. Dead. His face changed, really changed this time. The calculation disappeared, replaced by something raw and unsteady. Another second passed. Then I heard it. A faint crackle from inside the room. Not just smoke anymore. Fire. Oh my God. My voice dropped. It got into her room. That's not possible, Daniel said quickly, but he was already backing up, looking around like he could find an answer in the walls. I contained it. I checked the vents. Listen, I shouted. The crackle grew louder. And then a soft, dragging sound. I froze. Did you hear that? I whispered. Daniel didn't answer. I dropped to my knees, pressing my face close to the gap beneath the door. Hot air blasted against my skin, carrying thick, black smoke. Sophia! I shouted into the crack. Baby, can you hear me? For a second, nothing. Then, faint. A weak, broken breath. Relief and terror hit at the same time. She's alive, I gasped. She's still alive. I scrambled back up, grabbing a heavy wooden stool from the hallway corner. My hand slipped against it, slick with sweat. Help me break it, I demanded. Daniel hesitated, just for a second. Then he set his phone down, still recording, and grabbed the other side. On 3, he said. 1, 2. We slammed it into the door. The wood splintered slightly near the lock. Again. Another hit. A crack spread through the frame. Inside, the fire crackled louder. Sophia, stay low, I shouted, even though I didn't know if she could hear me. Stay on the floor. No response. Again, I yelled. We hit it a third time. The door gave way just enough. The latch snapping loose with a sharp, metallic crack. The door swung inward, and a wave of thick, black smoke exploded out into the hallway, forcing us both back. I coughed violently, eyes burning as I tried to see through it. "Get down!" Daniel shouted, pulling his shirt over his mouth, but I was already moving. Dropping low, crawling into the room. The heat inside was worse, heavier, suffocating. The air felt like it was burning my lungs from the inside out. "Sophia," I called, my voice raw. Shapes barely formed through the smoke. The bed, the dresser, the window still closed. And then, on the floor, near the far side of the room, a small shape, too still. "No," I whispered, crawling faster, my hands hitting the carpet. Then, something softer. Her arm. I rolled her gently onto her back. Her face was pale beneath the soot, her eyes closed. Her chest, not moving. Behind me, Daniel's voice cut through the haze, sharp and unsteady now. "Is she breathing?" I didn't answer. I couldn't, because I couldn't tell. And for the first time since this started, there was nothing between us and the truth. "She's not breathing." The words came out before I even realized I'd said them. Everything inside me went cold. No, check again," Daniel said from behind me, his voice tight, uneven. "You're a nurse, check again." I already was. 2 fingers at her neck. Nothing. My hand hovered over her mouth, desperate for even the slightest warmth of breath. Nothing. "Call 911, I snapped, my voice cutting through the room as I shifted, pulling Sophia closer to me. "Now." Daniel didn't move for a second. "Daniel!" That broke him out of it. He scrambled back, coughing, grabbing his phone, but not the one he'd been recording with. That one was still sitting in the hallway, angled perfectly toward the door we'd just broken down, still capturing everything. I tilted Sophia's head back, clearing her airway the way I'd done dozens of times before, but never like this, never with my own child. "Come on, baby," I whispered, my hands trembling as I started compressions. "Come on, Sophia, breathe." 1, 2, 3. The room crackled around us. Heat pressed against my back, urging me to move to get out, but I couldn't leave her. Not like this. I sealed my mouth over hers and breathed. Pulled back. Nothing. Again. "Come on." A cough. Weak. Barely there. But it was something. Relief hit so hard it almost knocked me over. "She's trying," I gasped, pulling her into my arms. "She's trying." Daniel reappeared at the doorway. "They're on their way," they said. "Stay low, get out now." I didn't wait. I lifted Sophia, her body limp against mine, and stumbled toward the hallway. Every step felt heavier, slower, like the air itself was fighting me. Daniel grabbed the fire extinguisher finally and sprayed blindly toward the flames licking along the wall, but it barely made a dent. We had lost control of it. We got outside just as the first siren cut through the night. Cold air hit my lungs like glass. I dropped to my knees on the front lawn, still holding Sophia, still counting breaths, still refusing to stop. "Stay with me," I whispered, brushing soot from her face. "Stay with me, baby." Red lights flooded the street. Neighbors gathered, voices overlapping, distant, muffled. Paramedics rushed toward us, taking over with practiced speed. "What happened?" one of them asked, fitting an oxygen mask over Sophia's face. "Smoke inhalation," I said automatically, my voice numb. "She has asthma, she was trapped." "Trapped how?" he pressed. My eyes lifted. To Daniel, he stood a few feet away, chest heaving, covered in soot but alive, unharmed. His gaze met mine. And for a split second, I saw it. Not panic, not relief. Calculation. "Even now, they'll take her to county," the paramedic said, lifting Sophia onto the stretcher. "You can ride with us." "I'm coming," I said immediately, standing up on shaky legs. As they loaded her in, another voice cut through the chaos. "Ma'am, I need you to step over here." A firefighter. Serious. Focused. Where did the fire start? I opened my mouth and then stopped. Because suddenly, everything replayed at once. The missing alarm batteries. The locked door. The phone recording. His words. "Insurance doesn't pay out for close calls." I turned slowly toward the house. Flames now breaking through the windows. And then to the hallway, where his phone still sat. Recording. I hesitated. Behind me, Daniel stepped closer. "It was an accident," he said quickly. "Kitchen fire, it spread fast." The firefighter looked between us, waiting. I felt it then. That pressure. The same one I'd felt in the hallway. Daniel trying to control the narrative, shape it. But this time, I wasn't trapped. I looked back at the firefighter, then pointed to the hallway. I said, "There's a phone. It's recording everything." Daniel's head snapped toward me. "Elena, get it," I said, louder now, "please." 2 firefighters moved immediately, disappearing inside. Daniel grabbed my arm, his grip tight, desperate. "What are you doing?" he hissed. I pulled away. "No," I said, my voice steady now, despite everything. "What did you do?" Minutes later, they came back out. One of them held the phone in a gloved hand. Still recording. The screen lit up with smoke-filled footage and Daniel's voice. Clear. Controlled. I just needed to look real. The firefighter's expression changed instantly. "What the hell is this?" he muttered. Police arrived within minutes. Everything moved quickly after that. Too quickly. Statements taken. Footage reviewed. Questions Daniel couldn't answer without contradicting himself. By the time we reached the hospital, he wasn't with me. He was in the back of a patrol car. Sophia survived. The doctor said another few minutes, and she wouldn't have. Severe smoke inhalation, oxygen support, monitoring for complications. I sat beside her hospital bed for hours, watching every rise and fall of her chest like it was the only thing keeping me alive. When she finally opened her eyes, they were unfocused at first. Then they found me. "Mom," she whispered, her voice hoarse. I leaned in immediately. "I'm here. I'm right here." Her fingers curled weakly around mine. Why couldn't I open the door? The question cut deeper than anything else. I swallowed hard. "You don't have to think about that right now," I said softly. But she kept looking at me, waiting. "I tried," she whispered. "It wouldn't open." "I know," I said, my voice breaking despite everything. "I know, baby." The investigation didn't take long. The footage. The financial records. The removed smoke detector batteries. The accelerant traces in the hallway. It all lined up. Daniel had planned it. Not to kill her, but to push everything right to the edge. Close enough to look real. Close enough to sell the story. Close enough to risk her life. He was charged with attempted murder, arson, child endangerment, and insurance fraud. There wasn't much he could say in his defense. Especially not after the video. The story spread fast. Neighbors, local news. Then beyond. Father stages house fire, locks daughter inside. People I didn't know had opinions about my life overnight. But none of that mattered. Not compared to the quiet moments in that hospital room. The ones where Sophia would wake up suddenly, panicked if the door was closed even a little. The ones where she'd reach for me just to make sure I was still there. Months later, we moved. A smaller place. No upstairs, no long hallways, no locks on any doors. One evening, as I tucked her into bed, she looked at the door, then back at me. "You won't lock it, right?" she asked. "Never," I said. I walked over, turned the knob, and removed it completely earlier that day. There was no lock anymore, just an open doorway. She watched me for a second, then nodded, settling back into her pillow. I left the door wide open. Light spilling in from the hallway. Nothing hidden, nothing trapped. Because some doors aren't meant to keep danger out. They're the only thing that shows you where it's been all along.
He locked her in and filmed it. Why remove alarms? Accident or planned?